students, and welcome back to the Lore of the Iron Kingdoms with me, Professor Caster. As mentioned in that ginormous two-player box set painting and stat card read and review video I did a few days ago, this is the shorter form of each of those sections. For everybody that did watch the hour, thank you, and for everybody that did not have that type of time, here you go. You can watch it in more bite-sized aspects. But again, if you could, before everything is set, please hit that like button, subscribe, and comment. Please do all those fun things, because that helps the great gods of the YouTube algorithm keep pushing this out to the rest of the folks that might be into the Warmachine and expand our community. Also, again, thank you so much, Steamforge, for sending us this two-player box set for review. And without further ado, let's get to it. Alrighty, as you can see, we are on to the warcaster of the bunch with the grayscale coat, looking pretty solid. And all those detailed and raised bits, Kapitan Zahara Vilkul just looks awesome. Also a little bit finicky when you're putting them together, but we'll figure it out. There she is with the black coat and her fantastic little knife and axe combo, which surprisingly worked out really well in the game we played. There she is with her red armor contrast coat. We try to get focus. Really getting focus with my setup was very difficult. That's why we're doing the still shots at the end. There she is with her leather contrast coats with the dark and light, and then we just did her hair while we were at it because her hair is like a brownish tone, so it's a little bit easier at that point. And then of course we did all the metals and any kind of details, added some plants to the base, kind of finished up some of the stuff, added any kind of rust effects that we were going to add on those rebar bases. But yeah, she is a pretty phenomenal model. All right, let's read her stat card. So she has breakthrough, so she can run through melee without having to stop. She has tough, she has immunity to fire, she has immunity to corrosion, she has pathfinder, she has dual attack. Her speed is 7, so she is incredibly fast. Her magic attack is 6, mat of 7, rat of 7, defense 16, armor 15, arc is 6, control range is 12 inches. She also has the alchemical mask that the rest of the army has, so it doesn't suffer cast effects, and when determining line of sight and concealment, she can ignore cloud effects. She has field marshal prowl, so all of her cohort models also gain prowl, so of course when she has fog of war going, everybody is stealth. She also has prowl herself, so when she gains concealment, she gains stealth. She has rise, so if this model is knocked down at the beginning of your maintenance phase, she stands up. She has takedown, so models disabled by a melee attack made by this model cannot make a tough roll. Models boxed by a melee attack made by this model are removed from play. And what makes her so dangerous is her melee weapons, but we're going to start with her range and then we'll get down to it. So her thrown axe has a rat of 7, range of 8, a rate of fire 1, AoE, well, it doesn't have an AoE. Power 13, she has the ability to make these attacks in melee, so it gives her an additional attack there. And these are magical weapons as well. So she actually has attack types. So attack type, each time this weapon is used to make an attack, choose one of the following special abilities. First ability, Eruption of Ash. On a direct hit, when a model is boxed by this attack made by this weapon, center a 3-inch cloud effect on the model and then remove that model from play. The template is a hazard and remains in play for 1 round. Enemy models entering or ending their activation in the template suffer a power 12 fire damage roll. So this gives her some nice ability that if she's cutting through the enemy, she's going to be leaving some nice AoEs that will do additional damage and give her more field control. The second ability you can put on her weapon is Ward Breaker. When resolving an attack with this weapon, it gains Blessed. What Blessed does is it removes armor and defense buffs granted by magic. So they get a bunch of buffs that grant them stuff. She just ignores it when she's going in with this. Then we move on to her melee weapons. Her mechanical axe, swinging now instead of being thrown. And as you can see, she has a lot of axes to throw because I think she has 4 axes on her back and 1 in her hand, so it's quite a bit. So with her mechanic axe in melee, it is a mat 7, range 1, power 13, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is quite a bit, especially since she is a weapon master in melee. So it's a weapon master and magical, so she can take on incorporeal models. And she has the same 2 attack types on it. She still has Eruption of Ash, which we just read, And then she still has the ward breaker that you can put on it, which is blessed, which ignores the defense and armor granted by spells. So yeah, this is pretty phenomenal. She likes being in melee. Get her in melee as quick as possible, and with her spells that she has, getting her into melee as quickly as possible is pretty easy to do. And then she of course has a combat knife as well, as you can see on the model. It is a Mat 7 range 1, POW 10, and also a weapon master, and it's also magical as well because, well, she's a warcaster, so most of the weapons that she has are magical. Her feat is called Pall of Ashes. Pall of Ashes, that's what it is. Place D3 plus 3 cloud effect templates anywhere completely within her control range, and while in the templates, friendly faction models gain Pathfinder and can move through obstruction, and other models, if they have enough movement, to move completely past them. And then while in the template, living models suffer a -2 defense, -2 attack rolls, and they lose tough unless they ignore gas effects. And Pall of Ashes lasts for 1 round. This is actually super useful if you're about to run her into somebody and you need to lower their defense because they're too dang high, which is what we did in the game, and my opponent didn't realize that she could do all of that. But of course, first time playing, any warcasters are very dangerous because you don't know what kind of spells or what kind of abilities they can swing out with. Her spells that she comes with that are not racked are Cold Front. So the spellcaster gains Chiller for 1 round or for 1 turn, and while within 2 inches of a model with Chiller, enemy models without resistance to cold suffer a -2 defense, which is very useful, especially if you're going up against very high defense models. It just freezes them up. So, but what saved the game after losing most of my army before we got into the melee rounds was Cyclone. So what Cyclone does is it's a attack of 6, cost of 2, range of self, and non-offensive. So the spellcaster immediately makes a full advance. At the end of the movement, the spellcaster can make 1 basic melee attack against each model in the line of sight and in its melee range, and then Cyclone can only be cast once per activation. So what happened was, with her ability for Cyclone, she can move 7 inches up the field and then move another 7 inches with Cyclone, giving her a range of 14 inches moving up the board. And then she can hit everything for free within her melee range, which is only 1 inch, so it's not like, crazy. It's not like those guys with reach or anything like that. But since she is a melee beast, we were able to get into the melee range of the opposing warcaster, being Kane, and she popped her feet prior to that, dropped a -2 defense on Kane, dropping him from I believe a 15, 17, we'll read that in a little bit, defense down to something more manageable for her to hit. And she hit, and she ended up rolling a boxcars 3 ways on Kane, which was surprising to everybody on the board, which knocked Kane down, even with his focus, down to like 3 health. So that ended the game rather quickly, especially since then she can do her initial attacks afterwards, since she didn't do any initial attacks prior to moving up the board and casting her spells. So you see how that ran and how that ended, being that we only killed 1 person on the Signar side, and that was their warcaster, which ended the game rather abruptly. Although Kodor, we lost our warjack, we lost our solo, and then we lost one of the guys from the Hound. So it was not looking good up until that point. But you never know. In Warmachine, crazier things happen on the field, and sometimes the dice rolls just play out for random events. So that is how it goes. But yeah, as far as the warcaster goes, she is phenomenal in melee. She's great at field control, especially with the ability to the Pall of Ashes really make it a lot more doable in the long term. So yeah, I would recommend her 9 times out of 10, at least for the Mark IV models I have played. So, but let's move